Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on the video. Before we start things, I just wanted to mention that I was looking at my subscriber count the other day and I noticed that 92% of you who watches my videos ain't actually subscribed. So if you could, please click on that subscribe button because it really does help the channel out. And also, once we do hit 500 subscribers, I can finally do my giveaway of a free copy of WWE Battlegrounds on the console of your choice. So, after saying that, thanks again, and now please enjoy the interview. Welcome to that 90s Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, James Tunstall, and today it's me, biggest guest ever, true icon and legend of professional wrestling, former WWE, TNA, ECW television champion. And because it's my show and I can say whatever I want because he is the whole fucking show, Rob and Sam. How you doing, Rob?
Super. Everything, dude, I mean, who could be all that? Who could be the whole fucking show and not be doing great, you know?
Also, before we get into your career, what I really do want to talk about is RVDCBD and the great things you've been doing with that. So tell us all about it.
Well, most people know that I have always been a marijuana advocate for many, many years. So, you know, I spent a lot of time learning a lot about the plant when other people were not paying attention to it. So it put me in a really good position. Fact is, it's been illegal to study marijuana, has been since 1937. And so because of that, and because of intentional misinformation being put out there always since they first prohibited it, and the Federal Bureau of Narcotics went around with that ridiculous movie Reefer Madness and told people it makes you crazy and violent, and this kid killed his parents with a frying pan. And anyway, a lot of that stuff people do still believe, you know. They think it kills your brain cells. In fact, it saves your brain cells. We're finding out that it could be very instrumental in helping not just with CTE, but first I read about THC in particular being useful with Alzheimer's. And at first they were saying, you know, that it could help slow it down from eventually taking over. And then they started saying it could straight up actually reverse the process. The more we're able to study it, and now that it's being legalized, we're finding out, just like I always knew, this plant is the most resourceful plant on the entire planet. Yeah, so now we're separating the different, we call them cannabinoids. These are properties of the plant. Over 100 cannabinoids, and we've only been talking about THC for all these years. So now we're finding out that there's also CBD. People, that's about all people know normally, you know, but they're starting to learn about CBG, CBN, and those that are in the industry know several more, but it's still very young in the process. Eventually, we're going to be able to utilize all these different cannabinoids to get pretty much the exact effect that we want, while at the same time being able to not get some of the side effects, the exact side effects that we're looking for. In fact, sometimes at dispensaries we already have sometimes where you can go through and check these boxes, and people will say, okay, I don't know what I'm looking for, so I want something, you know, that I can study on, you know, that helps me focus, something that doesn't give me the giggles or doesn't give me the, you know, munchies, or something that boom, boom. And you can pretty much make your own designer formula. And for a while, there's been doctors that do that. They'll give you different percentages of whatever. But CBD is very popular now, and it's because it doesn't get you high, but it is in fact the part of the plant that a lot of the benefits have been attributed to all along. So people are getting like on a local effect. You know, if you can take it so many different ways. You know, there's there's topicals that get a really more local effect, and it's anti-inflammatory. And I have the best pain creams, by the way. But there's tinctures, and there's gummies, and there's you can smoke it. So the more we're learning about CBDs, though, we're learning that it's the reason that it's always been illegal. It could replace like 80% of pharmaceuticals. Not just the CBD. But yeah, so it's always been prohibited because the big companies never wanted it legal. Rockefeller didn't want you to be able to use hemp seed oil for fuel. And then alcohol and tobacco definitely don't want marijuana legal because it's big competition. Same thing with pharmaceuticals, and that's not even getting into all the materials that hemp is known for. But but now, because all these lies are so ridiculous now, people have experimented. People know people that smoke if they don't smoke themselves. And, over 50% of the people in America think it should be legal according to the polls, which I knew it would be eventually. Otherwise, I never would have been an advocate. But where we're at right now, it's very close. It's going to be changed, either mandatory. It'll be a mandatory change on the federal level because the states will have reached the 2/3 majority. We only need like maybe three more states, but also on common sense. The more people, the more that people know, it's going to be, like they're not going to accept it. People don't understand that it's still a Schedule 1, most dangerous, and completely non-medicinal. That's where the federal government has it on the Controlled Substance Act. And if everybody knew that, they'd say, come on, how can it be completely, so it's bullshit. But I know I'm taking up the whole time with this one question, but let me just explain my journey real quick, because being of course, I was always an advocate for cannabis, but I myself have had hundreds of concussions. In fact, I had to get checked out, and I made a documentary out of it called Headstrong on Amazon that I'm very proud of. That movie really inspired a lot of people because people don't talk about concussions. I never did before. It was I had to really make a decision. Do I want to open up and let people know? But I did. People could relate to me, and it really helped a lot of people with their own struggles, overcoming obstacles, and so it was a continuation of that energy that made me want to do something if I could. I'd always thought about having like at least my own marijuana brand or something. I used to think, now that it's packaging and there's stuff, you can protect it somewhat. But I was reading an article in Time Magazine. NFL was saying that CBG could actually regenerate dead brain tissue. And and they were considering, putting the supplement together for the players. And, at the same time, I had a lot of connections, and I was, looking into making my own brand. And I just thought, I'm tired of my friends either committing suicide as a long-term result for CTE, or they overdose on opiates. That's my generation, not the guys nowadays. The guys nowadays, because of people like me, or maybe just totally me, they're making safer choices, and they're legit, athletes, so they can't be out drinking and taking pills every night like they used to years ago. But so that's my crusade, though, is to stay on the research and have that brain supplement. I personally try many of them myself that are on the market, and I'll always want to improve all of the products that I have when I learn, when new research comes in, or I find out there's a better way to do it. I'm always going to be upgrading my own products. And so far, I don't have that Headstrong brain supplement yet, but that's always going to be the foundation of what I'm doing.
Cool, awesome. And as for links for your CBD, I'll be sure to put all the links onto the description for this interview. But Awesome stuff. So I suppose
Cool.
we'll jump
Appreciate
straight
it.
into it. ECW, and last night I was watching your matches with Jerry Lynn and you defending your television championship, which you made that title reign legendary. So I was watching your great match on pay-per-view with Jerry Lynn. So what was it like elevating the TV championship to the way it was, and working these series of unbelievable matches with Jerry Lynn?
Well, that was the most fun, I believe, of my entire career, for so
Yeah,
many reasons. Yeah, it was, I don't know anywhere else really where I felt like my personal efforts every night were affecting the company in a positive way. I mean,
yeah,
we were growing month by month, drawing bigger houses, expanding our brand, and and so it was important to me to have the best match and the most kick-ass match that I could every single night. That's why I was calling myself the whole fucking show. I was backing that up, and
yeah,
yeah, and so it was great. I made the TV title mean at least as much, if not more, than the heavyweight championship. And so we were bringing guys in from other companies, as challengers.
yeah,
Uh, Paul would say, "Who do you feel like working?" And I'd say, "Oh, there's this big Kamala dude, Kamala the Second from Japan. It's in
yeah,
Georgia. Let's bring him." And it was the most fun and the most rewarding in that way. Anyway, as far as feeling like my contributions were appreciated,
yeah.
and so yeah, from that perspective, it was awesome.
Yeah, and during I suppose towards the end of the reign, before you got injured, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the original plan was for you to go up against Mike Awesome, champion feed champion on pay-per-view. I think that was the idea what Paul Heyman was going to do, and I would imagine, providing you never got injured, I would imagine they was going to put the belt on you.
Well, that's what I wanted to do was wrestle Mike Awesome. I thought he was a great heavyweight champion for
Yeah,
ECW. He was so big and so strong. He didn't need to be diving out from the top rope into the crowd and stuff, But and the fact that he was doing that, and he'd go up the ropes, like
yeah,
he'd take somebody, pick him up for a power bomb when he's on the second rope, and step backwards like up to the top.
that's right.
Like that's like such a high risk, that you're gonna
Yeah,
trip and look like a dumbass, and then just I thought that was great, and I was looking forward to the match. But also, it was just so awesome knowing that I felt like I had the steering wheel, or at least I had my hand on the steering wheel.
yeah,
Yeah, for the direction that that everything was going, the whole company, and you know, um, it it may sound it may sound arrogant, but it was real. Like the fans would be chanting RVD from before the show even started. When
yeah,
people are entering the building, RVD. Sometimes through the other boys' matches, intermission, and they would be chanting that, and then not nonstop,
yeah,
completely through the whole show. But when I would finally come out, it was a really big deal. Pantera song would kick and the music would hit. Everyone would go nuts. Fonzie would blow his whistle before he even saw us break through the curtains, and
yeah,
then I'd send him out, do a few push-ups or something. And when I finally came out, and got that explosion of applause, that was the energy that I needed, and counted
yeah.
on for the night. Absolutely.
True. And just before I let you know, tomorrow I'm actually releasing my top 25 ECW themes. You're pretty high. You're pretty high on the list, so look out for
Yeah,
it.
cool. All
Cool.
right, will do.
So you came back from your injury, and you managed to work the final PPV with Jerry Lynn, and I think ECW was probably around for a couple more shows before it folded. But what was the reaction from yourself in the locker room when you saw Paul Heyman appear on Monday Night Raw?
uh, I kind of felt, in a way, I think I felt a little sorry for him
Yeah,
because I believed that he really didn't want to be there, and that things had come to that. You know,
yeah,
I didn't know he was getting paid by them all along. Otherwise I would have had a different perspective. When I saw him, I thought this man is eating his hat, as they used to say, and I thought, like, dude, there is no what other choices does he have? There's no ECW, and I don't know if they had bought if WWE had bought WCW at that point or were purchasing it, but either way, things had come to that. So I kind of felt sorry for him, like he would tell us that the Paul that we knew would never do this. And then there he is. And I just thought, man, that just makes him like everyone else. He needs a job. But there was a lot more going on behind the scenes than I knew.
Oh, I can imagine. And eventually, you made your way towards WWE. So was it a case that soon as ECW folded, like WWE contacted you straight away, or how did that come about?
So I had the good fortune of being a sought out talent, so
Yeah.
that helped feed the ego that I needed to be the whole fucking show. Was that, I had offers from other companies. I knew that I could go work wherever I wanted. And that was part of reality too. When ECW folded, I wasn't in a hurry to go anywhere. I had a movie in Thailand that I went. No, I might have come back from Thailand and did that match with Jerry Lynn. Maybe
Right.
it seems like I was jacked up, and that was part of the drugs available in Thailand. So, but either way though, I had this, and so I waited a while until I felt like going back to work, and then I contacted Paul. Said, "All right, Paul, I'm ready to talk to them." And he said, "Great." He said, "You have to talk to." Well, he probably didn't say it on the same conversation, but I had to talk to JR first,
Right.
because I had a reputation for maybe having a bad attitude, and that was because. Yeah, and that was because of when ECW did the invasion on Raw that ended on my decision to pull the plug on it and walk out, and that's a whole story in itself there, that I was set up by Paul and didn't even realize it but that's why I had to talk to JR. I met him at the Marriott by LAX, and then I remember him saying, you're not going to be able to keep doing that style that all those dives to the outside and stuff on our schedule, working every night. You're gonna learn to tone it down. And I was just like, yeah, I don't think so. And so like whenever I see him, I like to bring that up. Seen him at the Cauliflower Alley Club a couple years ago, and I was like, remember that when you said I'd have to change my style, I wouldn't last? And he said, well, what you did was unprecedented.
Yeah,
like, all right,
true.
That's cool.
Awesome. And you appeared on Raw a couple of times, and I'll be honest, Rob. So over here in the UK, during this time, 2001, I was about 10-year-old, and I heard of ECW, but I didn't have much access to it, and you could rarely find a videotape. So your match against Jeff Hardy at Invasion was the first time I ever watched you, and Jeff Hardy was my favorite guy at the time, but you came in, and I was like, whoa, this guy's unbelievable. So the first thing I suppose I want to ask you, what was it like working that match with Jeff? And what's your friendship with Jeff? I've always heard that you two got along, and you had, from your matches, you had the perfect chemistry.
Yeah, Jeffrey quickly became your number 2, didn't he?
Yeah.
I love Jeff. He's one of my absolute favorite guys to wrestle. And outside of the ring, when I'm just talking or hanging out with them, I feel like we have a similar vibe. So I've always gotten along with him. We're like-minded in a lot of ways as far as like what we want to give of our bodies in a match, and also what's really cool, because that's the thing. A lot of people don't have the same. They're not like-minded. Like, you might think like, dude, this would be so cool if I did a backflip on somebody else, and be like, fuck, can't you do that with somebody else? You know what I mean? And whenever Jeff and I, just always had great chemistry. And I think Sabu and I. Well, by the way, that invasion. I'm realizing the synchronicity here, because you're talking about the invasion pay-per-view of
Yeah,
2001
that's
with me
right.
and Jeff Hardy, but also when ECW invaded WWF, that was also called the invasion, and I
That's right.
wrestled Jeff Hardy in
That's
my
right. When he was
debut
a jobber,
match
yeah.
for Sunday night. Synchronicity. See, it all comes around full circle.
Cool.
Wow.
And you're popular as soon as you debuted in WWE. You was just massively popular with the fans. Like you mentioned during the ECW days, it came about again when WWE fans were just chanting your name out the arena every show, and you was main eventing shows with Austin and Angle and doing great stuff. And then the Invasion Angle finished, and one of the big matches you had was at Vengeance with the Undertaker for the hardcore title. Where what was it like working that match with Taker, and plus the hardcore title itself, you raised, like similar to the television title, you raised the prestige of the hardcore title as well. So, what was it like being hardcore champion, but also wrestling this great match with Taker?
I loved being the hardcore champion because it was as close to ECW
Yeah,
as as I could be. It was great coming when a couple questions ago. I told you I met with JR about coming into WWE.
yeah,
We worked out the business end of it. I signed a contract and I showed up in Atlanta for day one. I had no idea what they were going to do with me. So I was completely surprised to see Tommy Dreamer there. He threw me an ECW shirt and I was like, what? Dude,
well,
this is awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
I was so there was a lot of roller coasters of emotions. I was really excited, and then of course kind of disappointed. Had the hardcore title. I was really excited again. They retired the title, and gave it to Mick Foley, and I was kind of
yeah,
bummed again. And
yeah,
that happened a lot. It's more of a cycle than a roller coaster. But I always liked wrestling Undertaker. I had several cage matches with him on the road and stuff, and just because we both had enough experience, I didn't ever have to see him before the match at all. Just see him in the ring and do it, which is kind of the opposite of how anybody does it nowadays. But um, I didn't really touch that much on Jerry Lynn, but when I first wrestled him, he was a friend through a friend. Like
right,
I didn't know him that well, but we were both good friends of Scotty Anton. So I was like,
yes,
well, I guess he's in the cool book.
yeah,
Try to give him like a match and not just bury him. And what became out of that first match was just something that we had to keep going back to again and again. With Undertaker for the hardcore, that I was. What I remember a lot is the footage that they've replayed. Me diving off the
yeah,
bleachers, the stands, and what I remember about that is there was all kinds of baby powder there was mats and all this baby powder, so it would go poof, and it
yeah,
was like so much different because in ECW there just would have been cement,
yeah.
big big difference.
Cool. And I don't know if you caught it. Like Undertaker was on the Joe Rogan show the other day, and like he said that, to paraphrase him, he said that today's wrestlers ain't as tough as like wrestlers back from his day. What's your thoughts and opinion on that?
I actually did catch the interview, and I think that it's not the wrestlers themselves so much as the style has changed, so much. It's changed so much that a lot of what you're seeing now that you've never seen before, there's a
Yeah,
reason you never saw it before. You never
yeah,
saw it before because it didn't fit in the rule book before, but everything has changed. Um, the most obvious change that I can point out is like when I got in the business in '89. I think the average wrestler was 250, 260, and if you had a jacked body, you could be main event. Guys got
yeah,
pushed to the moon just because they were jacked. Now I think the average wrestler is probably 180 pounds, and
Yeah.
and everyone's in great shape, in great condition, and jacked, and they have to be, and they're really good. Like there used to be room for guys that were the complete shits. Always, there was always wrestlers that sucked, you know, in every
Yeah.
promotion, on every card. There's not really room for those guys anymore. Even like the worst guy on the whole card has to be like pretty damn good, you know, to even
Yeah.
be on there, to be on TV. So it's a lot different. I like to feel like I had a lot to do with that change because everyone's trying to be RVD, doing more
Yeah.
athletic styles and shit that I started, that and the marijuana instead of the alcohol and in the party lifestyle. These guys are going to live longer than my generation. I'm going to outlive them all. They don't understand that. They don't understand that but a lot of my peers, as you know, have dropped off, and
Yeah.
you know, and they don't. The wrestlers nowadays don't live like that. So if that's what you mean by hard, the guys used to be more hard because they partied all night and did coke and somas and value and drank and all that. Then if you know, if not doing that is soft, then I would say sure they're soft. But otherwise, it's more dancing together than it used to be. That's I mean I don't want to like I, I don't want to like point out you know specifically things that I was taught, but it has a lot to do with the mindset. You know, when the Sheik trained me, like every second of that match, I was into it. I was fighting. You know, you grab me, I'm trying to kick my feet. You know, the whole time, and I believe that, and I think that a lot of times because people aren't trained the same way, there's like, and also by the way, before the pandemic, there's never been an easier time for fans to get in the business because there was
Yeah.
so many wrestling territories all over the world, and because of that, because fans are going to be able to slide into the business, that's going to that's going to dilute, water down the substance a little bit. It has to. Not
Yeah.
everyone's going to be trained by the Sheik or Kowalski or someone like that. So because of that, and then now fans are able to work their way up. A lot of that is different. You know, I wasn't allowed to be a fan once I got in the business, and
Right.
because of that, I probably didn't enjoy a lot of times that I would have enjoyed if I would have
Yeah.
been one of these guys nowadays. You know that are still fans and they don't mind being marks and talking about wrestling on their off time and playing wrestling video games in between and all that. And really, if you look at it from a business perspective, that's a good way to go. You know,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
And like not long after your feud with Taker, you became Intercontinental Champion at WrestleMania, which was a great match against Regal, and you know, wrestling the likes of Brock Lesnar and that. But I suppose one of your biggest feuds, and everyone calls it the Reign of Terror, your feud with Triple H, and I mean, everyone wanted you to become the world champion. So we know, you know, he's got his political sway behind the scenes. It's no secret. What was it like working Triple H, and what was it like behind the scenes? And was there any plans for you to become world champion during that time? But plans changed.
Well, I'm not privy to a lot of the plans. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's when I used to wrestle in Japan, which is a big part of my career that a lot of resumes leave out. I've noticed a lot, and that's really where I put it together and kind of grew up. I started going to Japan when I was 22, just turned 22,
Yeah.
and so I was so young and shy and impressionable, and I had these guys like Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Gary Albright, and all these intimidating guys that had war stories from being all around the world and stuff. And here, you know, I was just kind of like freshly out of high school. That's
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of that is left out. But shit, I can't remember. I lost the train of thought. I'm trying to tie it back to the question.
Triple H.
Yeah. Oh. um. So yeah, I don't even know what that had to do with Japan. I don't know. Anyway, I actually liked the matches working with Hunter. You know, I thought that he's really good, and I thought that our stuff together was always really good, and he's great at at knowing he's great at storytelling and stuff.
Yeah.
And yet he happened to be the office guy, so he had the power. So it's weird when talent. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. But it's weird when talent is also in the office, because then the other
Yes.
talents they're always going to look at it subjectively as if it's not fair or whatever. But it is an opinion in the office, so it has validity. But back in Japan, what I was going to say was the boys were definitely separated by a wall. There was the office clique and there was the hoods, and I was always one of the hoods, because we get to town, the hoods are trying to, we're in Nagoya and we're like, hey, you have a hookup on Hash, right? Yeah, okay, let's meet in my room. And then the office guys, they're gonna go and I don't know what maybe meet somewhere for dinner and just talk about office stuff. But as far as plans for RVD, I wouldn't have been one that would have been asking for information that wasn't given to me. Right. And so so who knows, it was probably told to me. Paul probably told me at one time that it was looking that way. I honestly can't remember. I'm skeptically optimistic, so kind of don't believe it till it happens.
Yeah, and the next few years, I mean, you just had an unbelievable career in WWE. I think it was like 6-time Intercontinental Champion there, unifying the IC title with the European and the Hardcore Championships. And one thing, what did happen, you got drafted to SmackDown. You had a great tag team with Rey Mysterio, but unfortunately you suffered an injury. But it was a bit of a blessing, because you brought about One Night Stand 2005, which is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. But then you made your return, became Money in the Bank, cashed in that One Night Stand 06. So talk us through it. One Night Stand 06, wrestling Cena, and WWE champion. How did it all come together?
Wow. Yeah. I stuck to my guns. That's one thing that I don't think anybody can deny. Everybody tried to change me all along through my whole career. And the Sheik said, fuck everyone else. They don't know what they're talking about. So Sabu and I both kind of went the whole time with that philosophy. And the fans, would still chant ECW at the WWE shows when there was an ECW wrestler in the ring. It wasn't super loud like everyone doing it, but there was definitely, you could hear.
Yeah.
And if you were in certain areas like Philly or something, then it was going to be the whole crowd. But it was like a spirit that just they didn't die, and it didn't die in us either. That was my preferred way as an artist to be displayed, to be showcased. It's also where I excel the most, is in a hardcore environment when you can think outside the box, because I live outside the box. So it's just perfect. So I like I said, I love the hardcore title. I loved having that run with it. And afterwards, I went to Vince one day and I just said, and I really thought he was going to give me an answer, though. I said, why is it that you don't have a pay-per-view where it's just, all the guys that you have on your roster that were ECW, like former ECW guys, and just let us go, ECW style, just one night only. And I thought he was going to say, well, Rob, the reason is because whatever. And he just went, well, I think that's a hell of an idea, Rob. Wow. I think I can make money with that. I was like, whoa, really? So next week or next day, I saw him, whatever. I had a big list of everybody. I said, did you know that all these guys were on, worked for ECW? You got Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and boom, 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 boom. So you wouldn't even have to bring anybody in, just let us do like and so of course, so I was getting really excited about it as it was building. I was going around trying to get talent. I remember Spike saying, I said, Spike, I could talk Vince into doing ECW pay-per-view. I said, would you wrestle on it? that'll never happen. No. I mean, but what if, like, because I didn't tell him I'd already talked to him. What if, no, right? He wouldn't even give me an answer. Forget it. It's never gonna happen. And so that was the big build. Looking forward to it. Booking talent, and what are we gonna do? I think it should be here. Of course, it should be. Bam, bam, bam. And then, of course, when I, being injured and not being able to wrestle at it, of course, broke my heart.
Yeah.
Totally. But at that time, I gave a speech that WWE was really impressed with. They'd never seen that side of me, talking like I want to talk instead of trying to read one of their things that I wasn't really comfortable with. And so there was that. There's a lot of benefits. Of course, we came back the next year, but what it was like for me was just like, dude, I'm on top of the world because of sticking to my guns, and because everybody at the Hammerstein Ballroom, they were all 100% behind me and my values and everything that I think about wrestling, and against everything that Cena stood for. And just because of that put me on top. I'm the world champion. It never would have happened if I hadn't changed the entire playing field and actually made ECW relevant enough to where I was the logical choice the best guy to put. Otherwise, I believe that I probably never would have had that championship belt if it wasn't just the right thing to do for the story of real life that I created.
Yeah,
So of course it was equally disappointing when I dropped the title, of course.
Things happen, but like I say, it was a great match. Both pay-per-views were great pay-per-views. What's John Cena like behind the scenes? Like everyone who I've spoke to who's shared the locker with him has always said he's one of the hardest working guys. And is that how you found him?
Yes. I don't know if that's the first time I've wrestled him. I don't even know. I guess who knows? But anyway, for sure. I've always said, he might be, when someone says who's the best wrestler there, I've always said, respectively, probably him, depending on what angle you're looking at it from, because to be a wrestler, and to be a pro wrestler and have that as your career, it involves, not just being able to connect with the crowd and being good at the moves in the ring, which is tremendously rare by itself, but also you have to be able to handle that ridiculous road schedule. And to be in Cena's place, my schedule was ridiculous. To be in Cena's place, it's got to be like going 2 times as much as I did, because he's the front guy. He's the guy they put on Gillette, the guy for Subway, the guy they put in the movies. He's their face that they're doing all the promotion on. And like I had 1 or 2 days a week off, not always, but sometimes. That was the standard when I didn't go international instead of being home, shit like that. But I always thought like there's so much. It takes so much to do the job that he did, and for him to do it so well, it's amazing. But I did see him get booed by the crowd before. It was in Wales, as a matter of fact.
Oh, right.
And I was, everyone was, boo, you suck. And he was on the microphone, and he was such a pro. He was like, that's all right. I'm glad to see you're having a good time. He said, as long as you're reacting, then that means we're doing our job up here. And that's what we want from you. You just to let it all out and scream, no matter what, however you feel, scream. He turned those people around, and then I was like, okay, that motherfucker knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that was before the ECW show. During the ECW One Night Stand, he knew what to expect. Like he knew that crowd was going to hate him, and he was, it was great. The whole thing with throwing the T-shirt back and forth and stuff, and the way he reacted to that, that went down as history.
It's great. And speaking of history, so you've filmed a series with WWE Icons, which we're all looking forward to. So how did it come about, this partnership with WWE again?
They contacted me and asked if I'd be interested. They wanted to do a documentary on me, and so I said, sure, I'd be interested. We actually haven't shot very much of it yet, but
Right.
but it comes out in May, and so we're going to be shooting a lot of it real soon. So I'm excited about it. I'm talking to them about doing a book. We're 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 in talks. I don't think our relationship was ever really severed,
Yeah.
because I keep in touch with Vince, and he's really the only one I care about because I didn't want to go back, so they really didn't have anything that I wanted.
Yeah.
So if there are certain guys that I burnt bridges with or whatever, then hey, shucks, but I don't even know about that. You usually don't know, and
Yeah.
then if they forgive you, you don't know either. Just but that's how it happened, dude. They called me, but we kind of stay in touch anyway.
Awesome.
I did.
And I don't,
I was just gonna say I did that Raw reunion show. That's been a couple of years now, I guess, right?
yeah, cool.
Oh,
And last two questions, Rob, 'cause I know you're a busy man. So the one question is, and people's hoping for it, will we be getting another run with you in WWE?
I wouldn't hold my breath on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't have any interest in doing like a full-time schedule. Of
No.
course, now I don't even know what that is. I guess the guys now don't really have to worry about that with the pandemic. If they're just doing
Yeah.
TV, there are no house shows. There's no shows anywhere that aren't on TV. I'm here in Las Vegas, the show capital of the world. They don't even have any shows except for the whole fucking show. It's kind of
Yeah.
sad. But
Well.
but I a return maybe if it's I don't have anything planned. Let me put it that
Yeah.
way. There's nothing on the agenda. I wouldn't rule anything out, except like I said, I wouldn't go back out on the road full time. We can go ahead and rule that out.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And the final question, Rob. Like we said, you're an icon of wrestling. You innovator. There's so many things to describe you, and you're a future Hall of Famer. It's not a question of if; it's a question of when. And when that day does come, who would you like to induct you in the Hall of Fame?
Kind of has to be Paul, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it has to be Paul. It has to be Paul. Sabu doesn't talk very good, and Paul, on the real, Paul is the only producer / agent that's ever really had my best interest at heart and understood me.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think it would have to be him, as predictable as that is. I'm getting inducted into this Cauliflower Alley Club,
Oh,
getting
cool.
a Lifetime Achievement Award in April, and I wonder if I have to think about that too. Who's inducting me there? I can't remember. Yeah, I better look into that. But that's I don't even. Who would be a second choice though? Vince
It would
McMahon.
be.
Vince.
Yeah. You mentioned it. You always seem to have such a good relationship.
Not as much when I was there because I had my head up my ass. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like just the older I am, the more zen I am.
Yeah.
And, to really be at the top of my game, I think I have to be in such a competitive mind. Fuck this guy, fuck that guy. That's the way I got taught. That's the way Sabu trained me. And because of that, I always felt like very defensive, and I didn't look at people the same way I do. Now I love some of the guys, and I love the memories I had working with them. At the time, sometimes I was like, that motherfucker, if he hits me one time out there, I'm going to blast him and it was just being in the middle of competition. So I was intimidated, talking to Vince, still am. I don't have a good, warm relationship like some of the boys do where they can hang out and talk to him, but yeah, after leaving and wising up and stuff, he's become a lot more important to me. He's the most important person I know in the whole world. You know what I mean? So
Awesome.
he's and I've always, every interview that I've ever seen him do, I agree with him 100%. The world's always the world blames him for everything ever. He always gets the blame. and the way that he backs up the reason that he doesn't take the blame, I'm with him, at least 99% of the time. So that's
Awesome.
so because nothing but respect for him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, Rob, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Like I said, 10-year-old me can't believe this happened. But before we do sign off, where can everyone find you on their social media?
Yeah, I'm at the Real RVD, and you can go to RVDCBD. We're not really shipping to the UK right now. We're working on that, and hopefully we'll break through that barrier pretty soon. But the Real RVD, and going to be continuing to make some news over the next few weeks. So stay tuned.
Awesome. And I had a million questions written down, Rob, but it's been a pleasure having your time. Hopefully we can do a part 2 and I can read the rest of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just told someone to call at 5. If I didn't have a previous appointment, then I would be able to. But yeah, totally. Hit me back when you want to do part 2.
No problem. Thanks very much again for coming on, and hopefully we do it again.
Okay, cool. Thanks, dude. Have a great day. Great.